Alright, so the main piece of content you need to think about is that there's three primary roles in leadership. So obviously, the things that are most studied, most researched are of course the principal and the assistant principals. What we're most interested in is those sort of middle leadership roles. So in the research and in practice, I guess, there's sort of perceived to be a gap between the principals and the assistant principals and the teachers down the bottom. And what you're probably looking to do here is to fill some of those roles within what we call the middle leadership role, which is between teacher and principal, and of course assistant principal as well. So what I want you to picture is a Venn diagram. We've got three parts, and these are sort of the roles and the jobs that middle leaders typically do. So the first and the most obvious is student leadership, student management, however you want to frame it, but essentially working directly with students. This might be, making sure that students are in uniform. This might be running detentions. It might be touching base with teachers and sort of resolving conflicts amongst the student body, depending on the year levels where you teach. You could probably select one, or you could work sort of across a broader team. That's one part of the Venn diagram, student management or leadership. The second one is pedagogical leadership, and this is probably the most atrophied and underused within a school. So in Victoria, it's becoming more of a prominent thing, but it's always been something that's sort of difficult to achieve. So depending on where you're based in the setting of your school, there might be a lot of positions involved with pedagogical leadership. There might be very few. So keep that in mind. There's always going to be a relatively high number of your student management roles, because typically you need one at each year level at least, maybe more depending on the size of the cohort. So they are more numerous. Pedagogical leadership is always something that's minimised within a school, which is rather strange considering that it's a school and that's sort of the core business of a school. But take that for what that's worth. And the third one, of course, is team leadership. So you're thinking head of faculty, head of learning area, whatever it's called at your school, I guess depends. But this, of course, is basically working directly with teachers. So one is working directly with teachers within the classroom. Team leadership, you're thinking more basically running meetings and those sort of things. And I guess you could add a tiny little pimple on one of these three parts of the Venn diagram, and that would just be union leadership. So not to be discounted and not necessarily part of the larger pie, but definitely a really good way to engage in the process of upskilling for sure, because it's quite uncommon for a teacher new to a school or even more experienced in a school to be given the opportunity to run a meeting, but a union meeting is always relatively available depending on the status of union engagement at your school, but it's quite possible for you to try out and dabble there. And I would add maybe a slightly larger pimple on the side, which is sort of what we call social media leadership. So you might become a thought leader, you might run Twitter chats, you might be using TikTok, Instagram to sort of spread your message to explore teaching and learning and pedagogical practices. And again, that's sort of a liminal space where you can upskill and develop your sort of strengths, just like you might in the AU sort of or union related leadership, before moving into one of those three sort of at school parts of the Venn diagram.